Well, it's been a little while since I've done a flying colors scenario, and this is actually the only one anyone's requested from me. Uh, I felt kind of bad delaying so long, but I have to do them in order. I don't know if I'll go further. I don't know if I won't. I kind of like to get to more of the actual flying colors one. This is again from Ship of the Line. It's the Doggers Bank. We got English versus Dutch. 1781. Fairly standard scenario. The English are running with the wind. The Dutch are beating into it. I've thrown full sails on everything. We got a couple of smaller ships. Doesn't look like anything too big on either side. I don't think the Dutch Navy has many big ships at this point in time. The English have a point of audacity. There's a special rule because the English ships are poorly maintained after having been in the Indies. And where'd we get back to? I don't know where we are, but I think we're close to Europe. Anyway, both fleets are escorting convoys, and the English decide to engage, telling the convoy, off with you. Anyway, so the English don't have carronades, 1 point audacity, wind going against the Dutch. Historically, it was more or less a wash, although the Dutch end up losing a ship the next day due to the damage it incurred. Let's see how many rules I remember of this. Alright, well, I marked down a play, so I've got to actually get some ships moving tonight. But I did have to look up the small ships rules, and they're kind of weird here. These damn Dutch ships are marked as 5th rates, but their actual rate is larger. Their 3rd rate, for example, I don't think there's an actual 5th rate in them. There's small ship rules which apply to natural 5th rates, which are supposed to be, I mean, that's my own term, but it's supposed to be ships that start out with that number. But I don't think these should count. These are bigger ships that are just not as combat capable. So I'm going to only apply the small ship rules to this, and in particular, the small ship firing restrictions, where you can't shoot at a small ship, and each side has one of these actual frigates on the board. The small ship firing restrictions are the larger ships can't fire on them. But I don't know how I feel about these 5th rates firing on a little ship. I'm not so disturbed by that but I think any of the real larger ships that are above 5th rate, I'm not going to allow to do that. Anyway, I got to try to figure out what's going on here for me. What do we have? Leadership, because leadership's important in here. Parker's no brilliant fella, and this guy's a little better. So we have a little better leadership for the Dutch. We have another admiral as well, who's also fairly good. All right, let's get moving. Hey, I've justified that first that recorded play. I also managed to move this down. There's going to be 16 turns in this scenario. I forgot to mention that a little earlier. It's always a tough thing when you're beating like these guys are, facing a fleet coming down from the wind, coming from upwind on you. There's just not much you can do. I mean, you can't turn into them and face them. You got less maneuverability coming this way. I could maybe wear around and try to gain some kind of advantage that way. But when I try to do tricky stuff like that, usually, unless I have a lot of board, I'm in a lot of trouble. These guys with their full sail on are just going to run over me if I try to do anything neat. So I'll just line ahead, and yeah, we've moved a little bit. Well, it was going to look like the English fleet was going to just slice through the rear of the Danes. Is it Danes or Dutch? They're Dutch. Yeah, through the Dutch. We did the Danish one already, didn't we?
I got one in Copenhagen that was kind of interesting. Yeah, we haven't gotten to that yet. Wow, that's deep in the original game. Okay. So it looked like I was just going to slice through the end of them, and that doesn't sound very appealing. On the other hand, getting sliced through the front may not either, but at least I get maybe rakes across the front of the English line and probably against the rear, or if the English turn, well, at least we exchange more fire or something. I don't know. That doesn't sound particularly appealing. But I also pulled off my my studded sails. I've been forcing the English to go first, getting the initiative each time. I'm not sure. You know, there's just so little you can do when you're facing into the wind like this, as far as I'm concerned. And that's why this is when battles happen, when somebody gets caught in a situation where they're brought too close by an enemy, although in this case both sides were willing to engage. When you're caught too close by an enemy and you really can't get out of there safely. This is after the British moved. They were again forced to go first. They, you can see they removed most of their studded sails, and they actually backed sails a little bit so they wouldn't hurtle right into, they could have been 2 hexes closer, but then they're hurtling right into a bow rake. What can I do with the Dutch in this situation? I sure as hell don't want to try tacking the whole fleet at this point, do I? I don't think so. English chose to move first, actually. They won the initiative. And, you know, there's this interesting game of chicken when you're coming forward with your bow, because your opponent has a chance to bow rake you after just about every move. But for the first guy, he didn't come in close enough. And then the other thing is, we got side slip capability, so you can see the other ships kind of position themselves in the way. Some of them, I think there was at least one bow rake. But it ended up meaning a mixture of fire from the Dutch. And I'm wondering if the Copenhagen scenario was actually the one somebody asked for, not this one. That's a long way off, if I get there. Anyway, the Dutch did a mixture. A couple of guys did rigging fire because they were going directly against the wind. The English, just nothing but hull fire. And you can see we got one ship damaged, the Batavia here. And these things are weak. I mean, look, they don't take a lot of damage, but they're also not very good at putting out damage. I mean, fourth rate is usually the smallest we have in a scenario. Third rates are kind of maybe the standard. So you'd think the English are dealing out a lot of damage, but when you start looking at the Dutch with these fifth rates and stuff, man, they're not laying a finger on the English, basically. Of course, the English don't have their carronades, so they're not doing as much as I'm used to. But they have their bonus, and crap, I forgot to give them their audacity bonus to firing. Anyway, and now I got to figure out what the hell to do with the Dutch ships. In a sense, passing by each other might be the best thing. But here's the thing. The Dutch have lost if they withdraw at this point. If they had been able to withdraw earlier, they wouldn't have lost. But the damage to the Batavia means a loss. Of course, you might say, well, you know, for a chance to win, you should keep engaging. Here's the problem. As the Dutch admiral, I think I just want to get out. I don't think just engaging or continuing to engage makes sense. I think I'm outgunned here. If we look at ships, I think I have an extra ship on the English. No, it looks like it's about even. And the English outweigh me. I just can't see sticking around for this. Glimpse at what the English are doing. Like I said, the Dutch were just pushing forward. On the next turn, no wind change. The English got the initiative, and they decided to go first. What they're doing is each ship is kind of backing sail and cutting a rake. We're in the midst of one here. I got 2 movement points left. That's again how I manage to keep track of where I am at any particular time. This is a fairly easy scenario to keep track of with, just two columns, fairly small. No big cluster is coming out of this one yet. It's tough to see what the Dutch can do as they're getting sliced apart here. Had they gotten the initiative, they could have just pushed by and traded broadsides, which is what kind of the best they could do, and they'd still end up losing from that. But now they get the first shot in, but unfortunately they're going against the wind, so they're shooting at rigging with the hope of, well, look, I'm going to lose this. Am I going to sail away? Maybe, but if I'm going to sail away, wrecking the English rigging will help, at least in a strategic sense beyond the scope of this game, give me some extra time. And if I'm not going to sail away, if I'm going to turn and fight, this is probably the best I can do too. I can't just slug it out where they're getting rakes and I'm not. Pass-through just cut the heart out of the Dutch fleet. You can look at the damage here, but everything's damaged up to here, only the front three ships, and the Argo took a significant hit. It's actually tougher than some of these others. And then it also is fired on this chart, which I don't know how different it is. Sometimes I forget to fire on that chart. I really don't know how much. It looks very similar, to tell you the truth. Sometimes maybe a little bit heavier damage, I guess, against the lighter ships. I don't know. But anyway, the Dutch managed to get an aft rake on this guy, and I think on this guy. This one didn't do much. The Berwick took some significant hits there. It's got 7 hits against it, so it's almost crippled. But this is just a complete victory for the Brits, and several ships that are vulnerable, as is pretty obvious here. That thing's about ready to just break up. But now I gotta sail the Dutch ships, and I think this is quite likely should be over soon. It's hard to believe the Dutch fleet can hold together, and I can't imagine them wanting to try to stick around. They want to get away and try to find safety somewhere. And we got the Preston here on fire. Took some rigging damage additional from that. As this guy passed by, he set off some flames on it. 2 of the badly damaged Dutch ships have gone belly up. The other one would have struck if it hadn't been for the commander. And yes, I tried to get him off up here or something. The whole rear end of the squadron is damaged. I'm just looking to minimize losses at this point. This is a complete rout. And now it's time to check the break off. The English don't have to worry about it, but the Dutch, because it's not just damaged ships, but the Dutch have 2 sunk ships. That counts against them. So let's check on damaged ships. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 English undamaged ships. Sorry, is that 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we're going to count this one, we got to count that one. I'm not sure if we count either. And here it's either going to be 2 or 3. Either way, it's going to be doubled. So that's going to be a -2 to the Dutch roll. No audacity. No bonus for the Admiral. It's only a penalty. So what did we say? We're at -2 there. That means a 2 or less. And now they get to keep sailing for whatever that's worth. To a large extent, though, I am trying to play out the let's break. This might not be able to run the gauntlet and get out. The rest of their ships, well, this guy's got mobility, but he doesn't have much stamina. I think he's already over his total. He's taken 11 hits, so he's going to break up and sink anyway. So it's really just a matter of maybe this guy can get out, but let's save these 3 ships, and I don't see much chance of the English catching those 3. We'll play out a little bit of the pursuit just because we haven't gotten the break yet. But to tell you the truth, what I'm looking at here is those 3 ships escaped. The rest of the Dutch squadron, it's gone. And, if I were playing this out in a campaign or really playing it out realistically, I would probably be trying not to wreck this ship, but to knock down its rigging and capture it. I don't know if it's really worth it. I don't know. That level of detail in this game, it's really hard to capture a ship. You really have to go about trying to do so, and without a campaign to fuel the desire to do that, it's really tough to, I don't know. Maybe I've changed. I know in SFB I used to do the non-violent combat when I'd get a ship so outnumbered like that one is, to try and get it. And that's just a tedious pain in the ass. I should just be calling this right now. I know what the end point's going to be. Okay, the Dutch opened things up by moving this single ship under command. It has the admiral on it. Basically, the line was destroyed by this ship being wrecked. And they kind of slip away with that. Put on some full sail so that it might get away. You know, it's so damaged, though, it really is just a matter of saving the crew at this point from being captured. And likewise, the English turned through, got some fire on the Hollandia here, and pushed by with a rake from the Dolphin, which was actually its first fire. It's now eligible as a target. I couldn't shoot at it with defensive fire as it sailed up, and it just clobbered the front end. Actually sent the Hollandia into a position where it too is so destroyed that it's about ready to wreck. Again, I'm going to try to get it off the board rather than worry about anything else. So that's going to be my next activation. It's an out of command ship. Oh, my admiral's like a 2. I don't remember what the numbers are, whether this is a positive or negative. You know, when you're doing it regularly, it remains in your head. So, right. Less than or equal to audacity, and I think you get to subtract the fleet admiral, so that's a -2. I didn't make it, so I'm not allowed to close here with that thing. So what I'm gonna try to do, I don't really want to get clobbered. Well, I can't close with this, so I've got to back sails. So I've got 5 movement points, 4, 3, 2, because now I'm beating, 1, 0. Not optimal, but these ships are moving that way. This gets me going in a different direction from them. If the English concentrate on this, yes, they'll be able to take it, but maybe they'll be able to take this instead, and that one's in trouble too, or whatever, I don't know. Now I gotta move the last of the Dutch ships, and they're just trying to get out of here. See, they're beginning to actually pull off the map. I don't want to roll the map or scroll it or anything like that. I know what's going on here. Unless something very strange happens, I'm just going to ignore those ships as they sail away. But I'll leave that one out there for one more turn. I just don't want to put another map into play yet. I think we're done moving. The English all moved together, which means we got a couple of the cleanup tasks to do. First, let's just take care of them. This is not a very long video, and I think the battle's about over. We got a fire over there to check. Fire's extinguished, but there's rigging damage. That means we're not putting any studded sails on that one. There they are. And I can get rid of these fired markers. You can see we're not really engaging anymore. And we got some vulnerable ships to check. Yep. We got some drift first. The drift is that way. This isn't able to move. This one is. Alright, now the vulnerable ships, and there are still no English vulnerable ships. I do the ship sinking first because why roll twice? So this is the Hollandia, which has taken all 9 of its hits, so it's got a chance of sinking on a 4 or less. Nope, and I'll see if it strikes. It's got no modifiers in its favor except the commander, and that's enough to keep it on the board. If we look at the strike table, I don't know how much I've done this recently. I subtract 2 because of the commander quality for the admiral of the ship. have no hull hits remaining, no Audacity. And then the other one that's about ready, that one's also going ready to go under the De Ruyter. That one's basically a pile of toothpicks right now. It stays alive. And it does not strike colors, not because of the Admiral. Take this off. Which means we have one more check, which is probably a 0 to 3 again. And we're going another turn. I don't know what it matters, though. You know, the disengagement's already happening. These guys are out of here. These guys, are they sunk? Are they not? I guess that's the only thing to play out. But I wouldn't be doing... I wouldn't be... if I got that die roll, I wouldn't worry about it. I would just say this is a heavy victory. But if all the Dutch ships leave the board, that doesn't trigger a break, I don't think, automatically. I don't remember. The victory conditions of this game are pretty much unimportant in a lot of ways. And that's, I guess, kind of one of the things that irks me a little bit. Not that I should mind, of all people, but it does still somehow, gnaw on me in this. I don't know, can I just call it? It's over, right? It's as over as if I rolled a die. I know what's going to happen either way. The only thing I don't know is, does this sucker get away so the crew is saved? Does this sucker get away so the crew is saved? Probably not both. Maybe one. What does it matter if I roll the general retreat roll? Then the scenario ends and I won't even find out, right? I mean, I could keep playing it. But really the answer is, the only reason I'm playing is to see if these guys get away. We know that this is a massive British victory. They've taken very little damage. They are not going to take much more. Only the Berwick up here is anywhere near getting damaged. So I played out the next round, and all the Dutch ships broke up. The Admiral, who was back here, managed somehow to figure out a way to sail real fast up to the escaping ships. Those escaping 3 ships are going to get out of there. These are all wrecks, so they're worth, what, 3, 7, 10, 15 victory points. 1 damaged British ship is worth 1.5. That's the end of the road for this one. And, I didn't need to play out that last turn. It's pretty clear I'm not going to catch these guys. They have no sail damage, no rigging damage against them, whereas the English fleet does. The best it could do is what it did. These are destroyed, and that's all there is to it. So that's the end of that little Dutch squadron. Strangely enough, this doesn't match the scenario at all, and I see it kind of hard, the historical situation, and I see it kind of hard that it would. I played cautiously, at least with the Dutch. The English did close, but they had the wind advantage. They had all the advantages in the scenario in terms of, better gunnery, the general English advantage, the aggression or audacity modifier in their favor. And with the wind, they controlled whether or not there's a battle. So bang, there it is. The only thing the Dutch had was a better admiral, but that's not sufficient to give you much in this. We've seen that with the French. And the Dutch don't even have the advantage of the French. They're not better at shooting at anything. At least the English, at least the French get the bonus against the rigging. The English get the big bonus, though, on the hull. And it shows its mark here. All right.